All right, practice number one down. Good news is the guys that took the field today, all of them came off field. Nothing new popped up today. Probably those of you in there at the beginning and saw the roster, there's a couple scholarship players that aren't in the initial roster here. Case-by-case scenario, there's an NCAA rule, an interp that allows us to put a situation like John Budmeyer, Bart Houston, Hugs Etenay, and then a non-scholarship player and Connor Cummins. Those guys are all currently in a medical situation or a status where they're not going to probably be with us unless a miracle happened at any time early in the football season, first game moving forward. So what we're able to do is kind of put them on a waiver, allow them to be a part of the 105 as far as them coming here rehab, and they just can't take part in any of the practices and any of the meetings. On top of that, then two other scholarship players, Isaiah Williams and Cody Byers, both aren't currently in the 105. Both are in Madison. Both have an opportunity to join us here in the next couple of days. It's just dependent on what happens for us. We got to, probably more so than any other time I've been here, balance some numbers that's happening. We're really lean at a couple of positions, so we're trying to jockey some people around. Just had another situation at wide receiver, unfortunately for us. Freddie Willis, who was with us a year ago, played as a true freshman. Kind of had some indication this might be coming forward, but he actually quit the team right before we started up. Nothing more than he just kind of lost love for the game, and those are his words, that he's going to stay here, stay enrolled in school. Didn't feel he could balance up both of them as hard as and as diligently as he wanted. So Freddie's moved on, won't be with us at this point moving forward. So other than that, it was good to get some work with some of these freshmen that we have not seen. I was very impressed with the number of guys out there today, and including obviously the transfer of Danny O'Brien. I think all those quarterbacks, I didn't see the pitch count, but a lot of them got, I think, about the same equal numbers. And quite honest, we have a freshman, Chase Knox, that came in, was very impressive just at the end of practice right there. So very, very happy with the QB situation. I thought Robbie Havenstein, a guy that we hadn't seen, Jacob Pedersen, who we didn't see very much in the spring, and Jared Abadaris, all three of those guys looked like, and Ethan Armstrong, we didn't even get to see a chance to see him at all during winter conditioning. Mike Taylor, all those guys look pretty sharp and happy where they're at. And then, of course, Monty Ball. Monty currently is unable to participate. Basically, the effects of the concussion, we're taking things extremely slow. Won't be involved in anything this week except for some conditioning that will take place away from the football field. Next week, hope to integrate him in some of the things, non-contact, kind of just a standard protocol for where we're at. Especially since we're out of season, there is an urgency to get him back out there. Then hopefully the 2 weeks into it and get him involved in practices throughout that last week of kind of good on good, and then be full go by game week. So should have him there for game day and game week, all the game week preparation, which is where I think I'd have to be to play him in that opener. It sounds like everything's going to happen full speed ahead.
How is he doing emotionally about a week off of what happened?
Emotionally, you know what? I think I obviously saw him the day after it happened. I think there's a lot of things running through his head. Anytime some type of situation happens like that, you realize how fragile everything is. As far as what's going on around that, it's a police investigation we turned over, and any information we get, we pass it along. Just hope that obviously the people that are responsible for that get apprehended and move forward as fast as possible.
Bret, the three guys you mentioned, Byers and Isaiah and Fred, who are not on scholarship, with them not being here, people are going to make the connection between the fight involved, the two fights, one before Monty and Monty. Is there any connection with those three guys who are not? You know what,
Jeff, I appreciate what you're saying, but I really can't comment on anything. There's rules that prohibit me commenting on injury, and also things that prohibit me from a criminal investigation. So I guess people are going to have to assume what they want. But for me as a head coach, when you're dealing with a situation like that, I have to make decisions on what I know, what I believe is real. I talk to people firsthand that were involved in. Obviously Monty was the only one there for his scenario, and then the accusation of the fight before that is really a police matter that I'm letting them handle.
To what degree is this a distraction?
You know what? I met with my team last night. I kind of went through some team goals that kind of went on the edges of what this is around, but then I also met with my Badger Council, asked them to hit over a few things, and one thing I said to them is, I how I feel about distractions. A team that has few distractions have a chance of having great success, and the unanimous consensus was them. Let's get what we need to get done and move ourselves forward. So unfortunately, our timetable doesn't always fit the timetable of a police investigation.
So is that yes, that it is a distraction, or no?
Well, I just think that it's being talked about. Tomorrow when you guys get a chance to interview them, they're going to say no comment, so that's going to be a distraction. But I think you choose your own distractions as well.
How many guys are on the Badger Council? Is that something, and that's something you've had since you took over?
Probably 4 years, Jeff. And what it is, it's As a rough rule, it's 2 players at every position that's voted upon by their peers. So all the DBs will elect 2 guys, all the wide receivers. Because of numbers, I kind of combine positions. So this year I combined the running back and the QB position into one. And then we always take the highest vote getter of among all walk-ons. So Ethan Armstrong is on the council as well.
Are you satisfied Monty was not involved in the fight from what you know?
I am. The incident that took place, whatever that altercation was, I'm fairly, I sat down with Monty after, I became aware of it, and I became aware of it soon after his incident, and I just assured him that he needs to sit here and tell me exactly what happened. If I found out that there's indication that he was involved in it, he'd be handled just like everybody else, and I told the team last night, if anybody has an indication of what I will or will not do, go back on my personal record when I threw our 2 starting safeties off the program for some things that I didn't feel that I felt very strongly about and didn't blink an eye, so I don't have any problem saying that.
Do you have a problem with him defending himself on Twitter?
No, I think Twitter is a very dangerous thing. As you guys probably follow me, I look like a moron half the time. I think the part that you're dealing with a young man who has got a lot of things on his plate that feels very strongly that he didn't have any involvement in what people are, I don't think anybody should quote TMZ as a news source right now from what I've seen. So I do think that Monty feels very strongly he wasn't involved in any way, shape, or form, and he's never given me an indication to think otherwise.
So he communicated that he was as strong with you as he was on Twitter about that?
I haven't read all his Twitters. I don't.
But he just said, he said it's all false, I wasn't involved in the fight.
Yeah, I would say that's fairly accurate with 100% accurate what he's told me.
Brett, what was your tone when you addressed the team? Are you upset that guys are maybe involved in something? Yeah. No, but I mean, do you have to lay down the law and tell these guys to?
We've been, in my 7 years as a head coach, we have not had many situations pop up. I don't expect to go through my entire coaching career without some of these things popping up. And I know that I recruit kids of high quality, high character. If there's a situation where a couple guys are involved with it, I told every one of them, hey, if you did something to ring the bell, you're going to have to pay the price, and I'll let the police work this out, give us the direction we need to go in and move forward.
Monty's been pretty straightforward of having the Heisman in his sights, something he really wants to do. Do you think because his name's been involved with these 2 incidents, the fight beforehand and then obviously his assault, it'll hurt his chances at all?
I think in the end, if there was a proof or if there was anything that comes out that he was involved, it absolutely, positively would. But I'm fairly confident the young man that I've known over the last 7 years of my life is a guy that's been pretty straightforward. And bottom line, you're dealing with a whole situation that you have nothing about. Anytime there's an incident that was never reported, obviously those people probably didn't want to have it or report it for a reason. So you can draw your conclusions from there.
You talked about Monte a lot in Chicago for obvious reasons, and the lessons that he learned from Mifflin. When you look at his body of experiences here in the last couple of months, has he just had bad luck? He's been at Mifflin. He's been at a place where there was a fight. He's been beaten up early in the morning. Or is this bad judgment?
I think 2 things working in. I've known Monty for a long time. Obviously, I'm not a social friend of his. I'm just a guy that has coached him and been around his family and sees all that he represents. I don't know how many people were arrested at Mifflin. What's the number? You guys, it was whatever, hundreds or whatever it is. He happened to be one of them. And there was a story and an explanation of why that happened, and something that's very believable. Here's a guy that is a senior at the University of Wisconsin-Madison. My guess is, of all the seniors this year at the University of Wisconsin, there's been a few that have been in a bar after 2 o'clock, but obviously no one draws the attention that Monty Ball draws. So that's part of what he, I think, probably realizes now. As much as he tried to realize it before, now it's on the and how much potential hate can be driven towards him in a short amount of time by so many people. Right? That's a big part.
Did Willis give you any indication?
No,
Did you see it coming at all?
I did, Tom. Freddie comes from a small school, Brookfield Academy, highly academically oriented. I go back and recruiting Freddie. He's got this unbelievable smile. Came in and ran an unbelievable time. I think he won 4 state track titles. I think football was this thing that all of a sudden he was just really good at, and then all of a sudden somebody says, "Wait a minute, I can have a full scholarship and get my education for free." And I would say that from the season moving forward, kind of there were times where I'm just like, I don't know how much he wants to be here during spring ball, and then just in a conversation with him, you could tell it was just something that's gone. It's not there, and I'm not going to try to push someone to do something they didn't want to do. And you know what? He's extremely bright, intelligent, motivated. I called his mom. She called me back. She didn't get off work till 5 o'clock that day, and I said, "Do you agree with it?" And she's like, She goes, what do you think, Coach? But she goes, I love my son. And he already had it all worked out. He's got everything taken care of, where he's going to go for scholarship and everything to stay in school here, which I greatly admire.
Brett, obviously you had a lot of different assistant coaches come in this year, but how important was it to retain even a few of them with Chris and Charlie and Thomas?
Well, I think it's critical to retain Thomas. He just has been great. That's why I named him an associate head coach. He's a guy that thinks outside the box. He's very good with our players. He's got great rapport with just people in general, and to have him be able to, and he knows Matt and he knows Eddie, so he was able to kind of, and he knows Coach Zani from there, so he was able to bridge that gap and give some legitimate things in that room. And then I couldn't be more pleased with the offense side, how they blended together. I know you guys didn't watch it. I believe in a 3-period Skelly set. We had one incomplete pass, and that's because the receiver ran an in instead of an out. And I've never seen that in my time here. So just the timing of it, to have 4 quarterbacks rolling through there, was awesome. Now, we don't have pads on. They're not getting rerouted and all that jazz, so that's a little bit different. And then on defense, to bring in Andy Boo, kind of what Hux did for us a year ago, brings in a lot of fresh ideas, a lot of different energy. Players have really responded. He gave a speech last night that was second to none, and then to Ben Strickland to bring with in, and he just got this kid bouncing. He had a home run today for us in recruiting. I mean, he's just really a guy that I think has got a very bright future.
We saw Monty dressed in the hallway today. What was he doing today? And what's his timeline?
Other than what I said at the beginning, I don't know what he was doing when you saw him. He might have been walking to the field or back. I don't know. Was he dressed in football gear? He had a jersey on and shades. Yeah, he's not cleared for participation with us, so he did some stuff in the training room. What we're doing this week is just pretty much laying low. We got a very positive report today from the doctor, which is giving him clearance next Monday to. He can do some conditioning this week, but it's non-football conditioning. It's biking and all that stuff that he can tolerate. It's really standard stuff for a concussion. And then Monday, like I said, we'll start practice. I expect him to be involved probably in some non-contact stuff, but if he's not progressing the way they'll slow it down. One thing, I'm not in a hurry. I'm not in a hurry to get Monty back. I said it the other day, and I meant it full circle. Is a blessing in disguise out of this is that we don't have to worry about whether we scrimmage him or not, getting ourselves ready. And you know what? Melvin Gordon, James White, Jeff Lewis, and Vontae Jackson all had really good practices today, and I think they're probably in the hunt.
It seemed like Russell's transition into the program last year was seamless. How's the team responding to Danny at this
You know what? Day one, I think he's got a lot of respect. You can see he has ability. He's really kind of a he's a totally different personality than Russell, but in a totally different scenario. You got to think now when Russell came in, it was Joel Stave, Joey Brennan, who were just starting as freshmen, and John Budmeyer hurt himself after the first practice, and Russell kind of just walked himself into it. Whereas opposed to Danny, now he's in a legitimate battle with him and Kurt Phillips and Joel Stave, and obviously Joey Brennan's there, and like I said, the Chase Knox kid did a great job today. So a little different scenario, but I was very happy with them both.
What do you think of the unis for the Nebraska?
I like them. I know it may not be popular, and I am the anti-uni person. Everybody realizes that, but I tell you what, we went to Adidas, the football division of Adidas invited me to speak last year out at Corvallis at their facilities to their top 100 people, and they brought them in, and I was sitting with the president of Adidas in the football division, and he said to me, I couldn't quite understand it, he had an accent, he's from overseas, but he basically explaining that Wisconsin is the #1 brand for Adidas. Been to 2 BCS games in football. They couldn't ask for a better marketing tool. And then kind of started to tell me about the Notre Dame-Michigan game and how big and successful that was. I think he was kind of oiling me up to go on to the Nebraska Wisconsin game, which is going to be a national television game. If they do what they're supposed to do, we do what we're supposed to do. It should be a very highly anticipated and great event. So. As you saw, there's not a lot of flavor to it. We try to honor some of the teams of the past, back during Pat Richter's era. A lot of debate went over the helmet. And, really, the only guy I was worried about whether he liked him or not was AD, and he didn't kibosh it. So after that, we kept some of the pinstripe running through, and tried to keep it simple. I tell you this, our kids loved it. And there's some things with the shoes, and I'm not a shoe guy. It'll be off the charts. And I think for us, recruiting-wise and with our players, it's a big hit.